We will help people navigate like using cannabis with their own medications that they're already using. So sometimes there can be drug interactions. If they're coming up for surgery, there's things you need to, consider for that. And so, if you're a person that's on multi-pharmaceuticals, like 5 or more, you really should, and you want to use cannabis, you really should be working with a cannabis professional.
Hey yo, we put free money where the mic is. He got it on lock like Rikers. Green rebates get you paid, so a lot of people like us. Money Talks Podcast, watch it on all your devices. Woo!
Thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Of course.
Molly
Yes.
Henderson. Thank you. I'm Ethan.
Yes.
We literally met a minute
30
and a half
seconds ago, right?
And now we have microphones and a camera.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for sitting down with me. And what brings you to Lucky Leaf in Minneapolis?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me,
Yeah.
Ethan. So last year I was a participant at Lucky Leaf. I came together with a collective of women called the Minnesota Women's Cannabis Collective, and we all featured our own brands. And this year I came as an attendee. I have been showcasing my podcast. I am a cannabis nurse, and my podcast is about destigmatizing cannabis through the use of storytelling. So I'll have industry folks come on, patients, scientists, come on and talk about how cannabis is beneficial, what they're doing in this space, and then usually, hopefully, tell their own personal story about cannabis, because that's how we break down stigmas.
Wow.
So, yeah.
What's the wildest thing you've learned interviewing these these people with such crazy professions?
The wildest thing?
As it pertains to cannabis.
Yeah. So many. I can't even think of one good story right now. But getting back to what you were talking about, though, and your own personal relationship with cannabis, you said you didn't really like it because it made you paranoid, right? Mm-hmm. This is exactly why you should be working with a cannabis nurse, because we can teach you about ratio medications and how to balance out THC and CBD, different methods of consuming cannabis. So there's, topicals that won't necessarily get you high, or tinctures that will get you high real quick, or if you like to smoke. So this is a really good way to get involved and start to develop your own personal relationship if you want to.
I do want to, because alcohol has been it's just been the thing that I turn to when I'm feeling overwhelmed or I need to socialize. And alcohol is just destructive for your body. Cannabis isn't.
Yeah, for sure.
Cannabis is a net positive. So I am trying, and my girlfriend is just all about the edibles. Even my mom's doing the gummies, and they just seem so much more chemically balanced.
Yeah, right?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I want to know more about your journey, though.
Okay.
How you got into, first of all, what made you fall in love with cannabis in the first place? Did you smoke when you were 13 like a lot of people did?
Yeah, it's such a common story, right? Mm-hmm. Most people, I think they came into it, you hear that often. I was 13 when I first smoked. I've told my story several times on my podcast, but so I smoked first when I was 13. Of course, there was a cute boy involved, So he's like, come over to my house and smoke some weed with me. And I was like, okay, So that was my first time. Throughout my lifetime, though, I've just been a sporadic cannabis user. I would smoke. My husband was a everyday user. And so I'm a nurse, so I thought, well, I have to be responsible. What if the kids have to go to the emergency department, and I was always worried about upholding my profession and making sure that people, took me serious. And I'm this nurse, I can't be smoking cannabis, but I would smoke on Mother's Day or, all the really important holidays.
Yeah.
So I was just an occasional user, but I was like you. When I would smoke, I would get really paranoid. So I kind of, left it for a little while. When me and my husband split up, I started dating this guy that was a hustler, and he was like, hey, it was during COVID, and I was like, did not want to go to work anymore. I was like, that was the last thing I wanted to do. I was so traumatized from working through
COVID as a nurse.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you. And it's another common theme. When I talk to people all the time, they're like, yep, it was COVID, and, that's how I got into it. So this guy I was dating was like, hey, have you thought about making your own edibles? And I was like, no, I haven't really thought about it. And he's like, well, do some research, watch some YouTube videos. He was like, if you can figure it out, I'll give you all my shake and you can make some edibles. And I was like, all right. So I did it. And I started making edibles for all my friends. And I was like, once I started to consume, I was like, holy shit, this is my cannabis. This is how I'm supposed to use it. Nice. So interestingly enough, I think I came to it as a consumable, and I think that's a hard entry point for some people. Because they can't control it. They feel like it lasts too long. They don't know if they're going to take too much. They don't feel it right away, so then they take more, and there's all these bad outcomes. But, like, that was the thing that clicked for me. So started making my own edibles. Then I went to work as an intern in someone's, like, CBD shop so I could learn more about the industry. And then I was like, okay, how am I going to differentiate myself from the rest of these people, right? And I was like, how can I meld nursing and cannabis together? Started doing more research, and there's an actual organization called the American Cannabis Nurses Association where they have gotten us to a place where we are now certified. We can be certified in our profession, which means like we're viewed as a specialty. So just like you would go see like a diabetic educator or a wound care nurse, like someone special that your doctor couldn't manage on his own, they would send you to us. And there's a lot of different things we can do, but most of the things that cannabis nurses do are consulting. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do that's different? Because I'm like kind of a rebel, I'm always like, okay, well, that's cool for you, but like, what am I going to do, So I thought, why not start a podcast?
Nice.
Why not get the education out there? I heard, education was like we have this big gap in education. We need education. We need people talking about it, normalizing it. So I was like, okay, well, that's what I'm going to do. And so here I am.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool that you found the cannabis, like the exact cannabis product that worked for you, that benefited you. What was that moment like that aha moment where you're like, I am officially part of the cool club?
Yeah, it was really life-changing, honestly.
You got some lips together.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
it was life-changing, Ethan, because like I said, it was really hard to go to work every day. It was difficult to take care of people when I could barely take care of myself. And so being able to like use cannabis and pause and like have that relief from cannabis that I was able to be more centered and more grounded. And so then I could go to work and be like, okay, everything is going to be okay. It really brought the veil down for me too. I have struggled with social anxiety. And so when I would use cannabis, I would be like, oh, I'm way more social now. And, I don't hear all those like mean voices in my head, You know what that's like, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Every day in every social interaction, I'm like, I have this voice in my head that's like, you just said something so stupid.
Yeah.
Everyone here thinks you're dumb.
Yeah.
I have this voice in my head and I need to fix that.
This
isn't, I'm sorry, you just like, you're such a warm presence, and now I'm treating you like a therapist, and I apologize.
No. This is, I'm trained in therapeutic communication.
Wow.
So this is another reason why it's good to work with nurses, right?
Yeah.
We're trained to listen to people. We're trained to connect with them. We're trained to get to the heart of their problem and really help them like develop goals and like how they want to use cannabis as a tool, because that's what it is. It's not a panacea. It doesn't cure everything. It certainly can help with a lot of things, and research now is like starting to ramp up a little bit, and so we'll see more benefits of like what cannabis actually does to like tumor shrinking and other positive effects that it can have. But it's a tool. It's a tool in your toolbox towards wellness and wholeness. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you're still a nurse today, right?
I am still a nurse today. I work in an
Nice.
emergency department. I do high risk OB clinic. So yeah.
How has cannabis maybe made you a better nurse? Has it?
It does. This is so funny. Someone was talking to me the other day about COVID and cannabis, and they're like, I was like, yeah, ever since COVID, like I'm so much more meaner now, but like cannabis usually helps with that.
Yeah.
So it really does help with that. It helps me get grounded and centered, and it helps me be more present when I go to work. And of course I don't consume before I go to work, but like just in those off times when I can come home and I know that like I'm going to have cannabis there to like help me kind of smooth things out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you started your podcast when, 2021 or
Oh,
recently?
shit. No, it's a year old.
Wow,
Yeah,
congrats.
1 year old. Yeah, February 1st of last year. So thank you. Yeah. How long has yours been going on?
This has been going on for 3-4 months. We've done.
Okay.
We just filmed a bunch of episodes at MJ Biz.
Sweet.
In Vegas, and here we are.
Okay.
It's podcasting is harder than people give it credit for.
It really is. And it's all about consistency, right? Like, you got to keep being consistent. For me, like, you seem you're very polished. Like, I'm a nurse. Like, this is not my industry. You know, I'm not in the entertainment industry. I don't know how to interview people. Like, I had to, like, learn all that as I went, you know? So I just watch my episodes and I just try to do better the next time.
Yeah.
So
I know those first few episodes, it's cringy, right? You're like, did I really just ask that question? Or like I was doing and made the dumb decision to say, as they're talking. So I just keep cutting them off. So go ahead.
Who have been some of your most interesting guests?
Oh, man. I mean, today has been a ridiculous day because we talked everyone from like a millionaire grower.
Okay.
This is his first time ever on a podcast. He doesn't even have social media. He just worked with Green Rebates and he was doing us a favor.
Okay,
and
cool.
This guy has probably dropped more money on the floor than I will ever
I
make
need
in
some
my
of that.
life.
Anybody who's looking to sponsor, come see me.
We interviewed him, and then we talked to a guy who's the smell expert. Where
cool.
He like grows big grows and operations hire him to make it not smell like a skunk, so their neighbors aren't complaining.
Okay,
you know?
gotcha.
And he's like a true scientist, and he knows exactly where that skunk smell is coming from. Interestingly enough, it's not the terpenes. It's
flavonoids, isn't it?
I forgot. It might be.
Yeah.
But it's something that he was like one of the first guys.
There's some type of like acid or something that makes it smell like skunky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sulfates.
Yeah. There it is.
That's what it is. That's why we pay him the big bucks.
Yeah, we do. Or you do.
Yeah. We interviewed him, and then interviewing you is awesome because you're an actual nurse. Like you are a cannabis advocate, but it's not like your full-time job, which is cool.
It's definitely a hustle.
Do you see yourself? Do you want to be like a full-time voice in cannabis?
I would love to. Yeah, I would love to. I really want to be like a trusted source for people to come and get information from. You know, people are always asking me, how do I know what's good information and what isn't? And I was like, you just have to do your research. You know, usually I try to steer people towards licensed professionals because, and people that have studied at institutions where they do cannabis education and give degrees out. Places like Maryland, the University of Maryland, or Pacific College, or if people have degrees in cannabis, those are the places where I try to steer people.
Right.
So I think of like Dustin Sulak, Dr. Ethan Russo, Dr. Bonnie Goldstein. This summer I'll be going to a conference in Puerto Rico. It's in June called CanMed, and I'm really excited for it because all of those people will be there, and so it's a place where like nurses and other people in healthcare can come and get education.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you see maybe in 5, 10, however many years, the medical nurses and then cannabis experts having more of a marriage?
I hope so. That is my dream. That is my dream. Like I said, I want it to be like, okay, your doctor says that you need medical cannabis, or you've told your doctor, I really benefit from cannabis. And so he's like, well, I don't really know much about that, but I know this great nurse that can educate you on it. And they can guide you in your journey towards using cannabis towards wellness. So.
Yeah. And where do you see, what do you think it's going to look like? Is it going to be patients just coming in, talking to their nurse and their doctors about what cannabis to use, how to use cannabis appropriately and not abuse it? What's it going to look like?
I think it's going to be a variety of things. I'd really love to see clinics where people are actually referred to like a nurse-run clinic where people can come in, they can learn about cannabis and get guided in cannabis. Usually we'll have people we'll suggest a product for them and suggest a starting off point, and then they really need to journal through that and be like, okay, I used this product, it helped in this way, or it didn't help in this way, or it took this long to work. And so they kind of have to develop their own relationship with it. Mm-hmm. But we also talk about an endocannabinoid system. Do you know what that is?
No.
Yeah, so no one's ever heard of an endocannabinoid system. It's the master regulator. It regulates all of your other body systems, and it interacts directly with cannabis. Mm-hmm. So we teach people about their body. This is all brand new stuff that's coming online. So things that people have never heard of, including your doctor. So
Right, and it's interesting because a bud tender, and they're amazing, but they can only do so much because they don't know about your body specifically.
Exactly.
Nurses and doctors, like, they could run the tests. And
Yeah.
They could really...
Well, and the other part of it is that, we will help people navigate like using cannabis with their own medications that they're already using. So sometimes there can be drug interactions. If they're coming up for surgery, there's things you need to, consider for that. And so, if you're a person that's on multi-pharmaceuticals, like 5 or more, you really should, and you want to use cannabis, you really should be working with a cannabis professional to help you with that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like, who are some interesting people that you have interviewed, and like, what are some maybe fascinating stories that you've learned or heard?
Yeah, I think everyone's story is actually fascinating. Yeah, I really do, because like I said, that's how we connect with cannabis. How we connect with cannabis is like and to be able to tell that story is like how we break those stigmas down. When someone can come on my show, like a professional grower or a professional marketer or someone in banking can come on my show and be like, yep, I have a personal relationship with cannabis. And you're just like, wait, what? Like, you're this, healthy, thriving, professional, successful person and you use cannabis on a daily basis. Like, so then you start to like change those hearts and minds, right? Most of the people that I've interviewed have been local. So I try to really interview industry people. That first year, I just like put all my friends on. I was like, okay, if you have a business, you're coming on my show because I know you love me. You won't let me fall.
Right.
And now this year I've really branched into getting into more science stuff and like really bringing it back to like cannabis as medicine. So
awesome.
Yeah.
And you live locally?
Yeah.
Here?
Yep.
Cool.
I'm a St. Paul girl. I was born and raised in St. Paul.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how has the cannabis scene evolved since, well, obviously, we like the obvious answer is it's legal now.
Yeah.
But like, what's the scene? Are you surprised with what the cannabis scene is like in 2025 in Minneapolis?
Not really. I think it's doing great.
Nice.
I think that for one, we have the best beverage industry in the whole United States. You can go into any place, pretty much any bar, any restaurant. You can go to any gas station. You can go to some grocery stores. You can go to any liquor store and get a cannabis drink. That's not the case in California or Michigan or wherever. You need to access that through a dispensary. So we have the best beverage industry here. I think that one of the things we really need to be mindful of in our new emerging, burgeoning industry is remembering to honor the OGs. And to always make sure that we're, bringing it back to the legacy market. These are the people that risk their lives, that risk their freedom, that, put it all on the line. And they've been doing this work already for, decades.
Yeah.
So I think just if we can keep them at the heart of it. And I think in our market, we're really aiming to like support small businesses. And that's very important. But you can already kind of see the the people kind of creeping in. So
the vultures.
Yeah, a little bit. But we're gonna uphold it as best we can.
Do you see yourself ever growing weed?
Here we can also do personal grow. So
I heard the limit for personal grow is insane.
Well, it's 8 plants, four in veg and 4 mature. So
I guess it's getting a micro license, like it's 5,000 square feet or something crazy.
Yeah, that's a license. But you can do a home personal grow. 8 plants. That's a lot of weed, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be enough for me.
Seriously, for last you a year.
Yeah.
Right?
So I think the thing that I'd really like to see as far as like personal grow now, we do have a great program here called the Caregivers Program, where you can actually take on someone's ability to grow if they're not able to do it for themselves. You can gift that to someone and they can grow your 8 plants for you, which I think is really awesome for patients. You think about people that are disabled or they live in public housing or, they just don't have the funds to do their own type of a grow, to gift that to someone else, and then they can grow your medicine for you. That's awesome. That's another great part of our industry here. So
totally.
Yeah.
So who are some of the OGs that you think that everyone in Minneapolis specifically should remember, should, continue to highlight and pay homage to?
Well, I don't want to miss anyone, so I don't want to start rattling off a bunch of people.
Yeah.
But just go check out my show. You'll see who I have on. And
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what's their take on these OGs, these people that have been kind of like the pioneers of the scene? What's their take on like how the scene is in 2025?
Yeah, I think they also are highly invested in the things I spoke of about keeping cannabis small, about making sure that we're honoring, Minnesota local companies, the people that have been here for a really long time. Yeah, and one of the things that I really am optimistic about is like now when I talk to growers, I'm hearing them say things like, well, we're developing a strain that's half and half, or we're developing these other chemovars that's really dials into what patients need. So similar to what I talked to about you. You need some THC, but you also need that CBD to balance it out. So they're already thinking about growing those chemovars that will tap directly into what patients need. So I'm really grateful and thankful for that.
Love it.
Yeah.
And like, do you think I feel like the cannabis scene, maybe it's just because I'm from LA, and like the cannabis scene down there, it was just capitalism run amok.
Yeah.
Just people, vultures coming in, trying to get rich quick and then dying. I don't see that happening in Minneapolis because it's just not the culture. It feels like a small town vibe. I don't know. This is my first time ever here, but I feel like it's like, as the cannabis scene grows, it's really, there's going to be a lot of attention to the small businesses and keeping the mom and pops alive, and not letting a freaking Amazon equivalent come and just buy out everybody else. I don't know though.
I mean, that is also my hope again.
Yeah.
It's also my hope, but I think this is $1 billion industry, and so when people see an opportunity to take their piece or to get their piece, they're going to go for it.
Right.
So and I think there's just some of that you're not going to be able to stave off.
Right.
So
Minneapolis does have the Target headquarters, so maybe
it
isn't as small of a town as I thought it was.
Yeah.
Well, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
So how is being a nurse in 2025? Congrats on getting through COVID.
Thank you.
What's it like being a nurse today versus before COVID? I guess how much did COVID change like a typical day as a nurse?
It's about the same, I guess. I think the patients are less sick. I mean, you don't see as many cases of COVID, and when COVID does come up, they're not as sick, I think people are a little less scared of it. So, there's not all that fear mongering and stuff. Like, that was really the hard part, is that you would be so scared to go to work and like get COVID on your scrubs and like take that home to your family, and so I just like had to turn the TV off, dude. Like, I could not watch news anymore. I was just like, nope, can't do it. My mental health is really important to me, so.
Yeah, and you're working 12 hours. Like, you should just meditate and watch Seinfeld reruns or something.
Yeah. We do see people, we do see the residuals of COVID now, though, in different ways. So you see a lot of people now when they have respiratory things, especially like flu, influenza A or B, when they get COVID, now they're getting a lot of RSV. We see like a lot of croup coming back, even in adults, which is typically like something you see only in kids. So like that's really odd. And then you see a lot of people with like bleeding or clotting disorders too. So that's been like a common theme. Also, you see people that have never had like any autoimmune diseases. Suddenly now they have an autoimmune disease. So I think there's going to be a lot that comes out of, in the next 10 years. We're going to see a lot of research being done as to like what did COVID actually do to us in the long term. Maybe what did the vaccine do to us in the long term? So I'm interested to stay abreast of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks right now.
Yeah, for sure.
And back to cannabis.
Yeah.
You're, semi new to you've been a consumer, but you're new to the industry. You have a podcast for a year. What's like the most surprising thing you learned just being in the industry?
God, you have all these great questions. I've never asked people shit like this.
I
better step my game up.
No, I'm sure you're 10 times better than me.
I don't know. Like I said, I just love hearing people's own personal relationship with cannabis and just like letting them know, like if you're somebody that just uses edibles or you just use topicals or you only use CBD, that doesn't make you any different than somebody that's out here, token on the highest percentage cannabis that there is, We all have our own right to develop our personal relationship with cannabis, and no one should have any judgment on what that is. So
love that.
Yeah.
the most beautiful thing that I learned too.
Yeah.
As someone who doesn't smoke weed, I thought everyone was going to judge me. I thought everyone was going to say, why are you even, you're just a vulture. You're making money off cannabis and you don't even partake. You're not one of us.
Yeah.
But every single person I've talked to is just open arms.
Yeah.
They're like, if you want to learn more about like you, like if you want to learn more about like how to smoke weed and not have a panic attack, I pick my brain for hours.
Yeah,
and
for
these
sure.
are people who have been in the game for 30 years, you know, who are very successful. So I just, it seems like the people who have had longevity are those people that, like you said, people that can never stop learning. Like Socrates once said, the one thing I know is I know nothing at all.
Yeah.
But also people that are like down to share their knowledge and not gatekeep. You know?
For sure. You cannot gatekeep. I mean, I heard a cannabis nurse say at a conference a couple months ago, like, there's enough money to go around for everyone, you know, like, don't worry about the money, like, focus on the work, you know, like, that's the most important part. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So what are some things that you're into besides you're a nurse, you have a podcast.
Yeah.
When you're not doing either of those two things.
Oh my gosh. When I have time to do something I actually love. I love music. I love dancing. I like poetry.
Nice.
I'm really into the arts. I'm looking forward to seeing the Giants exhibit. It's at the MIA coming up. So the Giants exhibit is Alicia Keys and Swiss Beats, their own art collection.
No way.
Yeah, so they have all these incredible pieces. Like they have a Basquiat. They have, I'm just really excited to see that.
Yeah.
I like connecting with my friends. I like going to brunch and happy hour, and just really spending time with my friends and with my family.
Yeah.
Walking my dog. I walk my dog every day.
That's it.
Yeah.
As we get older, it's just like maintaining the relationships that mean the most. That's should be number one priority.
Absolutely.
And
cannabis I feel like helps with that. It helps all those the bullshit stuff go away, and I can really be present and stay in the moment with people. And so that's what I love.
And it's just all about sharing too. When someone has a joint, no one's hogging the joint. It's all you're at a concert and the joint has probably touched 12 people's lips, and you're probably going to get herpes, but still it's all about sharing.
It's worth it.
I don't know if it's worth it. But okay, the last question I have is, because we're Green Rebates.
Yeah.
Do you know what a rebate is? And do you know what Green Rebates does in the cannabis space?
I don't. Tell me about it.
Take a guess.
Okay, so a rebate is when you buy something, you send in your slip, your receipt, and then they send you money back.
That's exactly what a rebate
perfect.
is.
Yeah.
I asked my mom
I've shopped
what a
at
rebate.
Menards a few times, so I know what a rebate is.
You've what?
Shopped at Menards.
Oh, Menards. I don't know what the hell
That's
Menards is.
a local company. They give rebates all the time.
Okay.
They're known for it.
So that's what we do in cannabis. So
Okay,
can
cool.
you take a guess where the rebates come into play?
Ooh,
in
shit.
cannabis?
If I smoke weed and send in my roach, you'll send me more cannabis?
We might start that program. I don't know if we make enough money, but it's really it's growers who are. We're all about energy efficiency, and it's growers who are upgrading their equipment to energy efficient materials such as LEDs, dehumidifiers, controllers, just things that cut their energy costs and their energy usage. So we are kind of the middleman between the government who's I'm kind of butchering this.
That's okay.
It's basically long story short,
Yeah.
it's when growers upgrade to LEDs
Got
and
you.
energy efficient equipment,
Okay.
we get them rebates, and a lot of times we cover all the costs for upgrading their equipment.
So similar to if you were to put solar panels on your home, you would get those rebates back on your energy bill.
Exactly.
Okay,
well,
cool.
yeah, it's on their energy bill, but also we literally pay for the LEDs. So not only is your energy bill decreasing, but also the equipment that made your energy bill decrease, we pay for a lot, if not all of it. So
Okay, cool.
it almost sounds too good to be true.
I was going to say, I should start a grow then.
Absolutely, and you know who to call when you start a grow. Is there anything else? Yeah, let's talk about your I want to know. Let's plug your podcast. What's the name of your podcast?
Thank you very much.
The mission statement.
Yeah.
All that.
So again, I'm Molly the Kush RN. The name of my podcast is Conversations with Kush. I'm on YouTube at Convos with Kush. I'm on IG under Conversations with Kush podcast. I'm on Facebook. I'm also on LinkedIn. So all those professional people, if they want to reach out there, please contact me. I'm always looking for dynamic people to come on the podcast and share both what they do in cannabis and their own personal relationship with cannabis. So yeah. Hit me up.
I love it. Can I go on your podcast?
Yes.
Oh my
please
God.
do.
We should.
Would you?
I would love to.
Yes. Okay. Cool.
I want to give the perspective of someone who doesn't have the best relationship with weed, but is trying to have a better relationship.
Yes, I would love that.
Okay,
I would
cool.
love that, Ethan.
Maybe,
Thank you.
Are you here tomorrow, or is it just
I'll
today?
be here tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay. And do you have a booth here?
I don't have a booth, but I've been going around today filming with my glasses.
Cool.
And my own mic. So
nice.
yeah. So this is what happened, Lucky Leaf. Here's a little nice information about them. I was like, yeah, I want to get a press pass. And they're like, yeah, you're not actually the press. I was like, what? We'll see about that.
That's you will learn the hard way that I am press, and you're gonna regret questioning
We'll see
my
about that,
credibility.
Lucky Leaf. We'll see about that.
That's anyone's press. Anyone who has a cell phone can be press.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you.